Well, guys, things aren't looking good. I know that this is probably going to sound disingenuous to most people who are watching that lean more conservative, but I'm American and don't want America to collapse. I live in this country. I like the idea of having a stable life in said country. So my concerns about Trump's performance as a president, both in regards to his policy on a social level and how much I agree or disagree with that, but also on a pure competence level, has worried me substantially. Trump does not seem fundamentally competent at keeping America stable. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of things about living in America, if you are American, or even, if you just live in like a developed nation, that you take for granted on a daily basis. And losing those things might literally drive you insane. And losing a lot of those things is very much possible now. Obviously, the safety of flying in America has been pretty questionable the last few days, though we need to wait and see if this is going to get worse. Obviously, Donald Trump is suggesting essentially abolishing income tax, the way, I should say, through which America makes the vast majority of its money for federal spending, which we need for everything, literally everything. So Trump is literally acting in ways that all the experts, at least, argue will destroy this country in the long run, or at the best case scenario, really hurt it. And MAGA doesn't really care, for the most part, or at least MAGA doesn't seem to believe that these fears are warranted, but all the while we are watching as we teeter closer and closer to that future, and I worry that for a lot of people, it's going to be far, far too late by the time they figure out what's going on and just how bad this could end up being. But with that said, you all know that Elon Musk has been appointed as the head of Doge. I think it's the Department of Government Efficiency is what it stands for. And it is a brand new... I don't think it's a department, because a department in government is very, specific and requires, a lot of people unanimously agreeing to create a new department in the federal government. So Doge is not a literal department. I think it's more of a committee. I think the term that would be used for what it is committee. But it's not a literal department. It's not like the Department of Defense or something like that, right? It doesn't have that level of power. It's not as legitimate now as those areas of our federal government. However, regardless of that, Elon Musk, as the head of Doge, has now taken control of the U.S. Treasury. America's bank vault. And on top of that, top Treasury officials are leaving their positions, literally just this is all going to implode on itself, and I want to be nowhere near this when it happens. Just straight up leaving. Voluntarily. Not leaving before they can get fired by Trump. Things are getting pretty scary. Elon Musk now controls your tax money. You know what's actually even scarier, by the way? Elon Musk, using this influence, has convinced Donald Trump. Just thought I'd let you all know, because you all know where Elon comes from, and I think most of you guys know the history of apartheid in South Africa, how up until extremely recently, and still to this day, South Africa is absolutely chock full of racism. They were practicing full-on slavery, race-based slavery, in recent memory. Genocide, cultural genocide, heavy surveillance, lack of civil rights, all these things. And only in relatively recent history has there started to be some serious equality racially in South Africa. And the response to that has been somewhat similar to what we're seeing in America, where all the wealthy, well-off, historically holding all of the power white people, despite it being Africa, wonder how that happened, are now claiming that white people are a minority in Africa, not just literally anymore, but also in the terms of holding power. And so these same people who once had literal black servants, indentured servants and slaves, are now claiming to be victims of race-based discrimination and violence, and it's become a really big Nazi talking point that black people in South Africa are just genociding the white population there, and the white population there are like victims of a genocide. Now, I actually have some South African white friends that I've spoken to. They have confirmed, no, mate, they kind of have Australian-y, kind of almost British accents, like a mix of posh British and Australian accent is how South African accent sounds, or at least if you're white, I suppose. There's not any, like, mass killings of white people in South Africa, okay? That's not a thing. It's made-up bullshit. But Nazis have been pushing this idea, and people have genuinely fallen for it. Lauren Southern made a fake documentary about it, and now Elon Musk, who hails from South Africa, whose family has a real iffy history in South Africa, mind you, has now convinced Trump to revoke any international aid from South Africa until they, and I quote, deal with problems with discrimination against certain groups there. Now, Elon Musk is a white, wealthy South African. Do you think that he was referring to the racism against black African people in South Africa? Or do you think he was referring to the white South Africans who are supposedly being discriminated against by the black majority, who does not hold a majority of power, strangely enough? Once again, I must remind you, I wonder how that happened. Getting all that out of the way, that is a little summary of the piece of shit who is now in control of all our tax dollars. Isn't that nice? Doesn't that feel good? That the money we paid into a system that's meant to help everybody is now being handled and manipulated by Elon Musk and Doge. I won't lie, it stings a little. Let's check this out. Rachel Maddow did a segment about this, and this should probably upset you, considering that she is far from the worst, but Rachel Maddow might be the, if not one of the most hated political pundits in all of America. Like, it's actually crazy. Like, I never think about Rachel Maddow until an MSNBC Rachel Maddow clip is in front of me. That is when I think about Rachel Maddow. Conservatives name drop her like she's the devil. They name drop her constantly, like she's some grand admiral in the woke brigade or something. Like, I don't consider her, like, I don't watch a lot of Rachel Maddow, so maybe I just don't know. Maybe she's super popular on the left or something. But MSNBC's not doing all that well. Maybe they just hate her because she's no bullshit about it and just very straightforward. A lot of the people that attack her seem like the kind of people that would just try to destroy anyone who says it how it is about Trump. Let's see.
We're still in the early hours of understanding what this means, but I think this may end up being a very big deal. Today, the Post broke news that the highest-ranking career official at Treasury, a man named David Liebrick, is leaving the U.S. government, quote, after a clash with allies of billionaire Elon Musk over access to sensitive payment systems. So Elon Musk and his team of people have reportedly been asking Treasury for access to the payment systems that the government uses to pay its bills, to pay out trillions of dollars a year across the federal government. Also, payments to businesses and individual households. So if you're a federal worker, before your paycheck hits your bank account, it goes through.
So yeah, they're talking about like your tax refund, any like if you got a tax credit, which if we had elected Kamala, we've gotten a $6,000 child tax credit if you have children, and that would have helped a lot of families. But we didn't vote for her, so any benefits you get through Social Security and the federal government. I actually worked as a lifeguard as my very first job, which I know doesn't sound like anything to do with this, but I actually worked at a state park. And because I worked at a state park as a lifeguard, that meant technically I was a federal worker because my place of work was a state park. And so because of that, there was like you get paid, like it pays directly into your Social Security, into your like retirement and stuff. Like there's a whole system set up for when you work a federal job. There are like specific benefits and whatnot. Zan Fedlore, I know I'm a Fed, guys. I'm a Fed. I worked as a lifeguard at a state park, dude. I'm a Fed. I've been exposed. But yeah, they've got like special like systems set up for federal workers when it comes to their taxes. And that's probably going to get all fucked up if Elon does not know how to handle those systems. And apparently, the Department of Government Efficiency is going to be in charge of handling all this shit, dude. It's going to be in charge of handling all of it. It's supposedly they're going to be eliminating inefficiencies. We'll see what that entails and how potentially destructive poor decision making with this system could be.
This system, same thing if you get a Social Security check or a Medicare benefit. Payments to government.
Oh, on top of that, by the way, here's another detail of how this could really fuck shit up. For those of you guys that don't know, if you overpay on your taxes, you can just like, if you don't know, you wouldn't know most likely if you overpaid in your taxes, but you can call the IRS or email them or message them or contact them in some way and ask them to check. And they'll check and see if you've overpaid on your taxes. And if you have, they will refund you what you've overpaid. And this is the same system they use to do that. If Elon Musk fucks this shit up, say goodbye to things like that too. Also, nice of the IRS to do that, by the way. Too bad Trump wants to nuke it off of the face of the federal government, huh?
Contractors, tax refunds, grant recipients.
Yep.
You get the idea. This is basically
Everything.
The government's checkbook at the Treasury Department, how they pay for everything. It's so sensitive that only a few career officials,
including to us, not just like for programs and stuff like that, but to you as well,
actually have access to use this system. But according to the Post today, Elon Musk and his team have demanded access to it as well, which led to a dispute with a very high-ranking career official at Treasury who's now quit over this dispute, who's now resigned. The Post says it is unclear what exactly Elon Musk's team wanted to do, why they wanted access to this incredibly sensitive system. One former Treasury Department official tells the Post, quote, "This payment system has never been used in a way to execute a partisan agenda. You have to really put bad intentions in place for that to be the case." I do not know enough about what this payment system does or how it works to understand the implication of it potentially being misused. But I will tell you, I have been watching enough of these red flags in the last 11 days to recognize that.
I mean, it's pretty damn straightforward, right? Like, this is clearly the, like, imagine the government has like a giant ass bank account where all of its funds are. The Treasury handles and operates it. Now the the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, and Elon Musk are basically taking control of it with Donald Trump's permission. The Treasury and this like security, I guess, of money all hold the money that the government uses to do everything from paying for a bill or a project that it's working on, from paying for any like military spending we need to do, foreign aid, when it comes to like any social benefits for people, and like tax refunds and whatnot, like tax credit, of course. All these things are not going to function if Elon destroys them, okay? It's pretty straightforward, actually. It's pretty damn straightforward. These systems are important. They handle those things, and if Elon destroys it, a lot of people are fucked. You know, especially tax season's coming up. People are going to be expecting their tax refund. They're going to be expecting benefits. They're going to be expecting for if they overpay to be able to get their money back. And if Elon Musk fucks that shit up, they're going to get mad. Listen, if Donald Trump doesn't literally destroy federal income tax by the time April comes around and people start to have problems with these systems, it's going to get them fucking pissed, okay? That is going to piss off a lot of Americans. I promise you. It's going to piss off a lot of Americans, and a lot of them voted for Trump, and they're going to be mad. Will they find a way to rationalize the blame towards Biden, like they're doing with the eggs thing right now, just as I predicted, by the way? Or will they accept, okay, it might have been a bad idea to vote for Trump. Oof.
That this is a very big one. And if the people in control of this very sensitive, very highly restricted system now do have bad intentions for what they're going to do with it, what does that mean? What is the scope of what they could do? Joining us now is Washington Post senior White House reporter Isaac Arnsdorf, who's one of the reporters who broke this story. He's also the author of Finish What We Started, the MAGA Movement's Ground War to End Democracy. Mr. Arnsdorf, thanks very much for being here. I know it's a really, really busy night. Let me start by asking you what kind of information, what kind of system this is, this payment system.
Well, what you said is exactly right, Rachel.
Guarantee you, he's going to explain everything I just did. I mean, he'll probably know a lot more and explain a lot more, but the fundamentals, I did just explain them. I probably should have held off and waited for this guy to come on. Could have wasted a lot of breath, or could have not wasted a lot of breath. Saved a lot.
So this is the checkbook. This is how the government's bills get paid. And David Liebrick, as the most senior official in the Treasury Department, who was the acting Treasury Secretary until Trump's nominee was confirmed, is the expert at managing it, including managing the debt ceiling, which, as we know, is coming up really, really soon with the spending limit in danger of being breached. That is all, he's the expert on that. That's his expertise. All the payments to this is how the government pays its bills. And it's never been anything that has any political role. And Liebrick is a professional. He's worked there for many decades and through both administrations. And this isn't something that they're just making the payments that Congress authorized and that the government obligated.
And Isaac, I'll tell you, the reason I wanted to talk to you tonight, even though this is a very busy night and a lot's going on, is because I'm really spooked by the quote from the former Treasury official who says, seems to be really raising the alarms that somebody with bad intentions who wanted to use this payment system for partisan reasons could do something very alarming, that's something that we should really worry about. And it would seem Mr. Liebrick resigning, given all the different presidents he served, would also seem to be raising that red flag even higher, that this is something dangerous.
Listen, guys, this is basically like, you think maybe the ship is sinking because it's taking on some pretty scary amounts of water. And now, the guys who've been sailing on that ship for 20 years or 30 or 40 years are jumping off board, and you're like, oh, this might be serious. You know what I mean? Oh no, the veteran sailors are jumping overboard and bailing off their ship. That's not good.
What do you think the stakes are in terms of the misuse of this system that you're describing?
Well, my understanding is that this dispute between him and the DOJ representative was that he wanted to know what they wanted to do with the system, not trying to be uncooperative, but how could he be helpful? And that led to them putting him on administrative leave, and rather than that, he decided to retire. But we are still working to figure out what exactly they have in mind with trying to get access to the payment system, and if they're going to succeed in doing so. But obviously, this comes in the backdrop of what Trump appointed Elon Musk and the DOJ to do, which is root around in the federal government.
Something I really worry about is that a lot of the adults in the room that are still around are going to loudly leave in protest of what's happening. I think it's important that there are some good people still around that stay in these parts of our government and just keep their mouths shut, and they don't make a lot of noise, and they just don't get fired by Trump. They don't step down, because we're going to need whistleblowers, dude. If Elon and DOJ get access to these payment systems, do we know what is done with that? I don't think it's public. I don't think we'd know if, Elon just siphons 50 million to himself one day, just for the sake of example. I don't, would we know if he did that, right away? Would it require an investigation? Because if it requires an investigation, it will never find out, because Donald Trump won't allow any federal institution to produce or to do an investigation against himself and Elon and his administration. He'll just shut them down. I don't know. Scary stuff, guys.
To look for spending cuts. And obviously also the OMB memo from earlier this week, where the administration was temporarily and to some extent still just flat out refusing to spend money that.
These fascist retards are wrecking my crypto portfolio. That's real, honestly. I saw people posting on Twitter today that Dogecoin was tanking. Is that still the case? Because apparently Dogecoin dropped, like, low. Like, either yesterday or today. Yeah? Damn. That's rough. A lot of people bought because Elon and the Doge thing, you know? Like, a lot of people bought in. You think Elon sold? If it dropped like a hard spike, that's Elon selling, by the way. The only way you get like an instant hard spike down is one motherfucker selling a lot of stock. Or a lot of coins, I guess, in this case. I'm curious, actually. This is related. This isn't a stun lock. Dogecoin value. Ooh. Ooh, boy. Let's get the 5-day. Oh, shit. Yeah, it's been steadily on the drop since, yesterday. What? Okay, so if I zoom in... Can I get a zoomed in version of this? More about Dogecoin, maybe? I don't think it's gonna let me zoom. 5-day line. Okay. So, what happened here? We could probably line things up, like, pretty well, I think. Like, I think we could line things up. So right here, so around here, Dogecoin's maintaining, and it goes up, and then it dies. Is, like... but it's not instant, though. Like, it seems like a bunch of people, or maybe it's, like, progressively, like, someone sold their shares in chunks, maybe? Over the course of, like, 30 minutes, it seems like? Maybe an hour? There was this one big spike. Maybe this is Elon selling right here. That could be Elon selling right there. That one big spike up and then that straight drop down and then everything dying afterwards. Because one holder selling at this peak is what caused this drop, and this drop caused everything else. How much you want to bet that hodler right here, the guy who sold right here, was Elon? Because only Elon could have owned so much Doge that they made up that much of Dogecoin's, like, value. Just from selling. And holding. Like, that's crazy. That's probably Elon right there. Undoubtedly. Like, I think he saw shit spike up and sold. Or it could have been some other billionaire, too. Could have been a millionaire or billionaire who just had a lot of Doge who did it, too. It doesn't have to be Elon. But somebody, I think, who held a lot of Doge sold right here at this peak when they saw things on the up, and then they killed it. They single-handedly killed it. Doge is such a fucking joke. Yeah, it is. It is. But guess what? We're going to have, like, a whole, like, crypto department now. Apparently, I bet a bunch of that money the Treasury has is going to be used to buy those, like, what was it, like 1,000 Bitcoins the government wants to own? It could be smart. Like, it's possible it could be smart. Like, it's a massive gamble, and gambling is stupid. But if we win the gamble, that could go well. Like, holding 1,000 Bitcoins as a country and holding them for a while, America owning Bitcoin, validating them as a currency, like, it could be interesting. It could be interesting. Bitcoin, Dow Jones, S&P 500, Russell 2000, and all others are in the same boat. How's the S&P? Let's check the S&P really fast. That's my go-to index fund. Ooh. Man, that's rough. Look at that. That is rough right there, bro. Yikes. Dow Jones isn't looking good either. Yeah. Oof. NASDAQ. Wait, are they freezing it? No, it's just after hours. Okay, yeah, they closed the market. Okay. Russell 2000. Ooh. Oh my, okay, well, okay, to be fair. I mean, what the fuck? I don't know what the Russell 2000 is. Oh, it's just a small cap US stock market index that makes up the smallest 2,000 stocks. Okay. In the Russell 2000. Okay. Yeah, I always just go for the S&P 500. It's usually the safest index fund, but not right now apparently. I don't think anything is safe to invest in right now. Not even the entire US economy.
Congress appropriated and authorized to be spent because they don't want to.
Yeah, it's one thing to fight over whether or not spending is allowed to go out. It's another thing to seize the checkbook on which, by which payments are effectively made. Isaac Arnsdorf, senior White House reporter for The Washington Post. I can tell this is a story that we have not heard the end of. Thank you for helping us understand it tonight, and we look forward to talking to you about it again.
True and based, yes. Oh, man. Oh, wait, hold on. One of my favorite politicians. It is really awful. Representative Jasmine Crockett explains terrifying reality if Musk has federal funds access. Dude. This is who we want explaining it, trust me. I showed a video of her the other day drilling a Republican on their rhetoric and claims around immigration and illegal immigration. And she asks him, okay, I'm going to ask you a series of statements, or I'm going to state a series of statements you've made and ask you if that was reality or rhetoric, meaning a lie, just saying stuff to get people on board. Because he refused to admit that he was a liar. He just said, it wasn't lies, it was just rhetoric. And she says, okay, it's rhetoric. And then runs him through it and just gets him to admit all the popular talking points that you hear and the ones he's spread were all just rhetoric rather than reality. Or I did reality in quotes, but just reality. Yes, she is awesome. She is iconic. Let's watch.
Now, Democratic Congresswoman from Texas, Jasmine Crockett. She is the vice-ranking member on the House Oversight Committee and now a newly minted member of the DOJ subcommittee. Welcome, my friend. It's good to see you. Let's get to what you'll be doing serving on this committee. It's led by Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene to provide oversight to DOJ's efforts. Do you know why they went after access to the federal government's payment system?
I have no idea, but I don't have any positive thoughts when it comes down to it. I appreciate that you played the clip of Jamie Raskin, and as Congressman Raskin asked, why do you need access? I mean, here it is. I'm a wholly, fully elected member of Congress. I don't have that kind of access. So when you start talking about who should have access to literally the system that controls approximately $6 trillion of our dollars, I don't really understand, because the people that worked in those positions.
You want to know something depressing? I saw a Ched on Twitter today defending Elon by saying, in response to the tariffs against Tesla, Elon Musk is a trillionaire. Why would he care about a few $100 million? Elon Musk is the world's richest man, but he does not have even $1 trillion. Unless that person was basically admitting that the money or at least some of the money that belongs to America is now Elon's money. Now, this could have just been a case of massive stupidity, or it could have been a case of self-reporting what they're hoping Elon does, which is just rob the federal government to enrich himself for some reason. Like, it's that much of a cult that they just want to see Elon and Trump get richer and more powerful for the sake of them getting richer and more powerful, because it would own the libs, I suppose. Remember, a lot of this has been centered around convincing Americans to hate the libs more than they should love themselves. And so, for a lot of them, they don't care to put in the effort to find out what candidate is better for them, more than they're willing to find out and know What candidate is worse for those awful woke liberals ruining America and bringing about communism? A lot of chuds think that way.
Positions could only distribute money per the law. So why is it that the Doge Committee would have to have access? And that's not the place that you go to look for cuts. You look at our budget, which it is Congress that has the power of the purse. You look at our budget, you help the president come up with his proposed budget, and then the House and the Senate will decide what we send to his desk, and he gets to decide whether or not he signs it into law. He should not have access to this. And with people already having angst about Elon Musk and the things that he does as it relates to technology, this is not instilling anything more than another layer of fear, especially since normally when you are going to be in a position like that, you have to go through security clearances. And let me tell you, some people think security clearances are all about whether or not you have a warrant or not. No, they look at whether or not you have some sort of divided interest. They look at whether or not you have good credit. They look at so many other things. And we're talking about someone who's unelected, unvetted, and definitely unconfirmed that is now literally sitting atop our $6 trillion, and we don't know what it is that he's doing, and we honestly don't know what role he has.
Look, you have well articulated some of the bad thoughts as you described them at the top here. The question is, does Musk's team now have the power?
You know how I've been ranting a lot lately about how the Democrats' biggest shortcoming is not policy, and those that tell you this are basically self-reporting how little they follow current events and politics beyond the headlines and Twitter. You probably shouldn't take much of what those people say seriously. The true, based, correct, real take about the Dems and their biggest shortcoming is that while their policy may be great, no one knows. Even among my own audience, every time I mention some amazing policy Biden passed during his 4 years, people are like, what? I'm like, Google it. If you don't believe me, Google it. And then they do. And they're like, I had no idea. And obviously I pitted a lot of blame on progressive content creators and the left-wing media for not doing a good job of getting people informed on why it's good to have a Democrat in power, not just why it's bad to have a Republican. But the Democrats have a little, or I'd say a significant amount of blame to take for this as well. They are not messaging as well as the Republicans do. The Republicans are making a concerted effort to push as hard as they can to dominate the internet and social media, the main place through which people get information and communicate ideas. They have dominated it, and they've embraced it massively. They've embraced the world of podcasts. They've embraced the world of TikTok and short-form media and YouTube and everything you can imagine. Every hobby and interest they try to take over, from Warhammer to wrestling and boxing and now chess. They're trying to take over chess too. So like every microcosm they can slip into and infiltrate, they take over and they influence people. They send out their messaging. The Democrats are nowhere near as good at messaging. I like to think of the Dems and their messaging as like a trap that one has set in the bushes to try and catch a rabbit. You're probably not going to get anything too quickly or very much with something like that, but it might work. Who knows? It's worked for the Dems long enough. The sitting and waiting and then explaining to people when they come to them, right? But the Republicans are like a game hunter out there with a rifle, like actively hunting for creatures to shoot and bringing home like a sling of rabbits. Like that is conservatives and their methods for rhetoric and messaging. They get out there and they try to reach as many people as possible, even entering, infiltrating. They are tourists infiltrating 90% of the fandoms they get into, but their messaging is on point, and that's a lot of how we got to where we are today. On the other hand, though, you know what Democrat does not take blame for this? Jasmine Crockett. Her messaging is peak. She is a great public speaker. She balances the line between stern and forceful, but also chill and cool and not too emotionally invested. Something that a lot of, particularly men, are not good at is recognizing assertiveness in a woman without immediately jumping to the assumption that they're like a crazy bitch, right? And so you'll see a lot of these memes made by conservatives where it's like pictures of like Nancy Pelosi and whatnot, like making a weird face, or Kamala Harris going, looking crazy, right? They love to frame particularly women on the left as crazy and angry and loud, but you can't like actually argue against anyone if you aren't somewhat forceful and somewhat like aggressive in your argumentation. And yet she balances the line perfectly in a way where she gets attacked by conservatives, but most of the time when I see a conservative attacking her, the replies are filled with conservative followers of that person saying, I actually kind of like her. That's been the same case with AOC lately. A lot of people on the right currently are on the right because they think that Trump is fighting for the working class. That's legitimately what they think. For the everyday working man in America. And the Dems are uptight, high and mighty, overeducated, so on and so forth, right? And smug. And so it pushes them away. And that is, of course, retarded, but that is how a lot of Americans think, because Americans are retarded. We're kind of famous for that.
Or to actually disrupt federal payments?
In my opinion, they do, but I honestly don't know. We still don't know really what Doge is in the first place. I mean, listen, think about it like this, Alex. Everyone hates Congress.
The egg shortage has been a struggle for me personally, and I can't understand how people think that it has to do with another crazy conspiracy. Dude, listen, I assumed that if the economy dies, the first thing to get expensive are going to be eggs, because that's what happened with the COVID inflation. Eggs were the things that got expensive. And so I bought 2 cartons of eggs the day before Trump took office. I enjoyed eggs for breakfast this morning. Just thought I'd let y'all know. Just thought I'd let you know. I got enough eggs stocked up that I still was able to have eggs for breakfast this morning.
That's just what it is, right? But as a sitting member of Congress, I mean, I had to give up my ability to practice law. I am prevented from being able to practice law to prevent potentially somebody dropping a load of cash on me and I do something that is nefarious as one of 435. And now we're talking about a guy who literally gets government contracts from the United States and has not had to divest, has not had to, I mean, it is really awful. And I know right now people are asking whether or not their IRS refund checks are going to be affected. We don't know if this is more DEI. Are you going?
Your refund check, by the way, from the IRS gets paid through to that system that Elon is trying to take control of. If that gets fucked up, you're shit out of luck.
To say if it's somebody that's a person of color, then for some reason, whatever they paid in to the federal government, they're not allowed to get it back. Like, we don't know, but there is no reason for any political appointee, if you can even call him that, to have this kind of access. There's none.
Let me move to the fact that you are also a member of the Judiciary Committee. And since Donald Trump took office, multiple top FBI officials and federal prosecutors who all worked on January 6 cases, they're out of a job. And now the DOJ wants names of those who worked on the Trump or January 6 investigations for possible firing. What do you make of this apparent cleansing?
I mean, you just called it what it is. It's a cleansing. I mean, listen, when Democrats got out there and we said that our democracy was really at risk, people were like, oh, Democrats, you're out there, you're gaslighting. It's not our democracy. Well, he did say he'd be a dictator on day one. Oh, Democrats, it's just Trump. He just talks. Well, let me tell you something. He is doing more than talking. We talked about Project 20.
If he said that, he didn't mean it. And if he did, you didn't understand it. And if you did, it's not that bad. And if it is, others have done worse. Always remember. Those are the goalposts that you're going to have to push all through if you're going to argue with a Trump supporter about something Trump has done.
2025. We talked about the consolidation of power. We talked about how he wanted to be a king. We talked about in a democratic republic, that is not what it is. We have some sort of checks and balances, and he is doing everything that he can to get rid of those checks and balances. The DOJ and the people that he's going after were simply doing their jobs. The problem is that Americans thought that it was okay to take a full-fledged criminal and make him the president of the United States, and then they want to act aghast when he does criminal things. Let me tell you, we have a thug in charge of the United States, and if we don't wake up, we may not have a United States, because right now he has only been successful in being a divider in chief.
If you know where to look, you can see where her rhetoric is very good. Probably the one that stands out the most is if you've followed conservative media for a long time, you'll know that they've been, well, until recently where things have gotten a lot more mask off, the standard was dog whistling constantly, and they love to use the term thug. Fox News, conservative media as a whole, they love to use the term thug. And there's usually a racial context to that too, when they use it. Using that term to refer to Trump when it absolutely applies to him, turning that phrase that the right has weaponized so strongly and so frequently against Trump, but not just for the sake of no-youing them, but to draw attention to the fact that Trump is the criminal that Trump supporters claim they want out of their country. It's very good. Good shit. Natalie Cybertips, thank you for the $5 donation. I appreciate it. It says, AOC is better for this country because she's at least a millennial. Would love if we could get younger people in power. Majority of cons are boomers. That is true, but you got to remember, it's like you don't usually get young people elected to office unless it's in like a city full of young people voting. Xana, did you see that recently released footage of Trump saying Kim might be invited to the White House, and how he wishes, quote, his people would stand up and clap every time he enters the room? God, he wants to be like, he only gets along with tyrants. What can I say? He gets along best with tyrants, but other leaders of the free world, he just doesn't get along with. I wonder why. I wonder why.
Can you tell me what you're hearing about him from Republicans, from colleagues that will speak to you off the record? Do they have concerns about him? No names, but are you hearing concerns?
I do hear concerns, and let me make sure that I get this timeline together for the American people. Number one, he was sworn in on January 20th. That was on a Monday. We were supposed to be in session from Tuesday to Friday of that week. They canceled our Friday votes, so we have only been in session Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of the week that he was sworn in. No other days. They decided to take advantage of the fact that Congress was not in and started to unravel and break as many things in our democracy as they could without us being here. But I can tell you that even when we went through the CR vote, there were Republicans that silently or in the background were cheering us on and saying this is wrong. Like they knew we had negotiated, and all of a sudden this guy who's not elected makes a tweet on Twitter. And so, no, can I tell you that Republicans want to see Elon go down? I can. Now, will they come out publicly and say that? No, because they're concerned about whether or not he'll spend money in their next elections. But there are some, but I need them to understand.
You know that's true, too. You know she's not lying. You know she's not lying about how there are Republicans that want to see Elon go down. Not meaning like suck a dick, but well, maybe suck a dick, but also like literally like fail and exit politics with shame. But they all want his money. They all want his money like Trump got. Yo, Dark Blue Moon, thank you for the $5. I appreciate that. Says, you mentioned how people defend Trump before and they excuse people. Give Fit a very similar mantra. They deny, they defend, and they depose. I mean, I guess it's somewhat comparable, but I prefer just the goalpost moving mantra.
And that this is their time to rise up and do what is right. This is the time to honor the oath that we all took. Listen, today I had to enter into agreement with Rand Paul, something that I never saw on my bingo card. But this is a guy who made it clear. This stupid tariff war is just that. It is dumb. And I have to agree, even when it's somebody like Rand Paul, I have to agree that he is absolutely correct.
So just specifically, what is Rand Paul saying that you said, yeah, I'm backing you up on this?
On the tariffs, he said that deciding to...
Even some Republicans are calling this out. Rand Paul, by the way, hardcore libertarian, free market guy. The fact that he's going against Trump on this, man. When you got the Dems, and you got, like, the libertarian economics guy. Man. It's like when the Joker is like, I don't like Nazis. It's like you're like, man, even the Joker doesn't like Nazis, you know? It's like one of those moments where it's like, fuck. Like, nobody with as a shred of sense for economics thinks this is a good idea, dude. Nobody.
To put these tariffs on Mexico as well as Canada. I don't think we'll ever scream too loudly about tariffs on China, but that's a whole other issue. But he was saying that it is going to take the cost of things up and that we should just call it what it is. This is a tax. It is a tax on Americans. And his attitude about it was, allegedly, the Republicans don't like to do taxes. So why are we raising taxes on the American people? But that's exactly what it is. It's a tax on us. We are the ones that are going to pay.
Can I just ask you, didn't you hear Donald Trump say many times during the campaign he was going to lower prices for the American people? Won't this have the opposite effect?
Now, you know, I tried to ignore a lot of the things that he said. But yes, he did say that. He did tell that lie. And we know we've got historic prices right now on eggs. For everybody that said they voted because of the price of eggs, they have only gone up. And just saying that you're going to lower something with only offering concepts of a plan.
As expected, they're already coping over that, by the way, with the, it's Bidenomics. It takes a while for Trump's policies to take effect.
Was really the giveaway that he did not have a plan to help you lower the cost of food. Instead, as we are seeing these raids that are taking place, we know that we've heard from farmers that people aren't showing up to work. And the reality is that every single city that I've campaigned in, I would ask people, tell me how many of you plan on going into farming or sending your kids into farming. So you explain to me how that food is going to make it to the grocery store if there's no one that is actually willing to go out and work the fields. And now let's talk about the foods that we get out of Mexico, whether it's our avocados, whether it's our strawberries, the things that we import. Let's talk about what that's going to look like when Mexico says, oh, okay, well, they put a tariff on it. All that's being passed on to us. And then when it comes to people, especially in my state of Texas, where we are one of the largest traders in the world, not just the United States, but in the world, Texas is our own economy. And now our biggest trade partner, Mexico, is saying, you know what, we're going to slap these tariffs on. What does that mean? Those businesses that are doing trade are now going to be hit because people in Mexico may not be buying those items because now they are going to be too expensive.
Yep.
It's always sobering to talk with you, I have to say, but you also managed to bring a smile to my face with your energy and personality. So thanks. Gotta say thanks for that as well. Representative Jasmine Crockett. I'll see you again soon.
I really like her. Her speaking skills and her rhetoric are peak. Top tier, I'm telling you. Trump saw Homelander and was inspired. You're not wrong. The reason our economy is bad is because of boomer leadership and conservative leadership. Majority of cons are boomers that I have met. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say you've met the majority of conservative boomers that exist, because that would be a lot, but I mean, I guess maybe they're like the boomers you've met, and I don't disagree with the general point, but yeah. Anyway, guys, this is some scary stuff. Definitely hold on tight. That's all I can really say in terms of advice. Hold on tight, I guess. shit, bro. This is some scary times. All the experts, all the adults in the room are like, oh, this is scary. And I gotta admit, I'm scared too. I am, but hold on, guys. Hold on. That's really the best advice I can give. Listen, if you enjoyed this segment, if you found it entertaining, enjoyable, or fun to watch, then consider leaving a like and a comment. Every single thumbs up and comment you guys leave helps the channel out immensely. It boosts me in the algorithm in real time and forces YouTube to push my content to more viewers who have not seen my stuff before. So I really appreciate it, especially if you hit the like button while I'm watching live. It really means a lot. Of course, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications if you want to see more from me on other platforms. And subscribe oh, sorry, I already told you to subscribe. And if you want to support me directly, financially, help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, then please consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, or Patreon. Regardless of how you support me, though, I really do appreciate it. And as always, I hope you have a good one.